Sorry to interrupt you again, and hi again if I met you last night, and also I do apologise if my drink last night kept you up. That is unfortunately how good nootropics are at promoting wakefulness. So my name is Mark Curry. Today I'm going to be just discussing nootropics, what they are, how they work, why they're different from tea, coffee, energy drinks, and why they're the basic kind of thing that's going to be in the future. If we look at the US and UK, we can see massive trends of why nootropics are great. And so I'm here to talk about what actually makes them work. I'll also run through some very quick basics of why I stumbled across nootropics and why I kind of changed my life into them. So I actually work as a part of UTS startups. I'm an honorary fellow at UTS, so it's quite nice to be back here. This morning's chat is a little bit about passion, what we did, and what nootropics are about. So it's kind of fun being back here. I was at UTS doing business and law in 2018 to 2014. So 2008 to 2014. And then I worked in Clayton Utz, which is a large law firm, for a couple of years. And then from there went on to trying to get out and about, learning about what the real world is. Trying to keep up with all the different people involved in different areas of law is challenging, and unfortunately, more often than not, you find you've got to try and have large amounts of coffee. Like anyone else, I felt it was the kind of go-to tea, coffee, energy drinks, that's all there really is. But there's much more than that, and these are things called nootropics. So, starting with the whole passion journey, for those of you who have ever felt, look, I don't really know what I want to do. I'm not sure if this is really something that I'd like to pursue. I've been there. I felt that. Like when I left university, I went on to do the law thing and I didn't know if I liked it. So I ended up kind of feeling I don't really have a passion. I used to kind of beat myself up about it. If you've ever kind of felt like you're a bit lost and a bit trapped with your career path, I've been there. What I used to do is take days off work and just sit at home, taking sick days and asking some basic questions for myself, such as, what do I like doing and why? And you kind of actually reach periods of what you want to do when you actually allow yourself to slow down and have a think. And so that actually led me toward nutrition, because I was the weird lawyer in Clayton Utz on level 6 that had a 4-kilo Tupperware container of a weird orange powder, and it was basically a whole bunch of nootropics. And so I was actually already part of my passion journey, but I had no idea. I hadn't identified it. And so it was just something that I was using to get by. And I found whenever people came to my office and said, oh, can I try one of these brain power powders or whatever it was? They were like, yeah, sure, it's over there in the corner. Chuck some cordial on top, otherwise it tastes terrible. And so that's how the whole thing begun. And that's what 7 years later Savvy turned into. But back then, it was just something that I did to try and get by. And this is what I mean by passion can be all around us at all times, is I had no idea that was actually my calling in life. I thought that I had to be the big high-achieving commercial lawyer, but one day I realized I get so much more benefit out of talking about nootropics, health and nutrition than I do about law, that I threw in my resignation, had no idea what I wanted to do, moved back home with my parents, which is not a really cool thing to do in your late 20s, kind of challenging with dating life and the rest of it. But it's what I had to do to try and make it work. Worked as a tutor again to try and bring basic money in and effectively try to work out how to start a nutrition company. I had a rough idea of what I wanted to do and a rough idea of how amazing nootropics are, but I didn't know how to get it out there. So we move on to the next bit. What are nootropics and why did I care so much about throwing my entire life into this whole category, which is emerging and becoming only larger day on day? So nootropics, they're a class of substances. They're natural, they're synthetic, and they support brain function. They improve cognitive abilities like focus, memory, mental clarity, and learning ability. Obviously, if you guys are here today at a hackathon, you care about how your brain works and you care about getting the most out of it. So nootropics have been described as kind of putting your brain on steroids, which is something that's quite a cool thing. The idea and the history behind what nootropics are, it dates back thousands of years. So a lot of people say, oh, these things are brand new, but they're not. So ancient cultures have been using products like Panax ginseng, rhodiola rosea for thousands of years. And they go ahead and they use these to improve memory, mental clarity, and energy. However, in the modern day, today they're gaining a whole lot of widespread popularity all over again, which is great, as people search for ways to boost their productivity and just try and get ahead. The demands of everyday life in today's world is ultra challenging. It's harder than it was the day before. There's social media, it's constantly trying to keep up, it's trying to always get ahead, and so you feel that tea and coffee just sometimes aren't enough, which are the go-to solutions, right? So we want to go into nootropics and why they're great. But the most important thing about nootropics is they're medicine. You need to have the right dose to get the right outcome. Let me give you an example. So dose is everything. Some of you might have come across the most common nootropic, which is caffeine. I can see a sea of different people having a cup of coffee over here, which is great. So if you wake up in the morning and you're feeling pretty tired, you're going to go ahead and have a cup of coffee. So you know that if you have that whole cup on the way to work, by the time you get to work, you're going to feel a little bit better. You're going to feel more energized. But if you just had like a sip or two and then threw it away, you're going to get to work and you're not going to feel energized. So we get the concept that dose equals an outcome. So in that cup of coffee, there's roughly 100 milligrams of caffeine, the active ingredient within the coffee that's going to promote wakefulness. So that full cup of coffee, which is 100 milligrams of caffeine, equals the outcome, wakefulness. Cool. So using that same idea, that's dose. So if you were to have half a coffee, you're not going to get that outcome. A few sips, you're not going to get the outcome. So dose is everything. And with nootropics, it's the exact same. People talk about certain nootropics, ashwagandha, rhodiola rosea, turmeric. People would have heard of these examples out and about. Great. And what companies will tend to do is put a little sprinkle on top of these nootropics and say, oh, these can provide benefit A, B, C, D. And they do, but that's like saying coffee can provide wakefulness and a good mood. And it does when you have the right amount. So dose is everything. So that's an important thing to remember with nootropics. It's not just a case of having the nootropic, it's having enough of it to get the benefit. Because again, it's plant medicine. Why they're increasing in popularity and why it's important is the increasing pressure on us all in today's day-to-day life. More technology, social media, we're bombarded with information way more than we ever were before. The stress, the anxiety, the challenge to try and keep up with it, it can be challenging. And nootropics provide a potential solution to the problem as they can help to optimize the way your brain works to improve cognitive function, focus, and memory, short-term and long-term. They're so much better than coffee. So the current solutions are tea, coffee, energy drinks, caffeine, caffeine, caffeine. And nootropics just kick the crap out of caffeine in terms of how they work. You guys would have noticed this last night. I understand some of you were up until 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. because of one can of Savvy. This has less caffeine than a cup of coffee, and it kept you guys up all night. The reason why is the nootropics in here. There is 9 grams of nootropics in here, which is 3 large teaspoons in every single can. And those are the things that are providing wakefulness, as well as other benefits. So it provides a huge increase in mood, much longer lasting energy, mental clarity, and those things are amazing for a working day. I would not recommend having them at 6 or 7 or 8 p.m. at night because you're going to have a hard time sleeping. But at the start of your day, they are amazing to be really focused, dialed in, feeling your best, solving problems in a much better way, as again you guys obviously are today. Excellent. So the benefits improve mental health and performance because they work synergistically with lifestyle changes, such as exercise, sleep, and a healthy diet. So the 4 separate pillars of improved mental health and performance are having good sleep, good exercise, good nutrition, and then interpersonal and intrapersonal skills. So getting out there, being social, a bit of exercise, good sleep and diet. You've probably heard these things spoken about before. Now, nootropics are an amazing hack, and I know we're all here at a hackathon, so we're all interested in those little tiny things that provide a boost to performance, but that's all they are. They're just a hack to nutrition. So having them is amazing, but you still need to consider the other important things, such as optimizing your sleep, your nutrition, your sleep, and your social, and the way that you talk to yourself inside. These are phenomenally important things. However, nootropics can provide a huge difference, 20 and 30 and 40%, which is amazing as long as you have all of the other bits in line. The benefits of nootropics, I've kind of touched on these now, but increased productivity, memory enhancement, and reduce stress and anxiety. This is probably the most exciting one because in today's world, we are way more stressed and way more anxious than we were in any time previously in history. Mental health statistics show us that we're actually becoming way more anxious and way more stressed than we were any time previously in our history, which basically means that we have a need for things that can help to slow us down, but not so much to reduce productivity, but just reduce stress and reduce anxiety, but keep us focused and productive. This is what nootropics can do. So the benefits are phenomenal. They can improve memory. They support neural plasticity, which means the growth of new neurons, which means you're learning things at a faster rate. You're dealing with things in a better way. They can help you to have longer lasting energy. They change the levels of neurotransmitters, the brain chemicals in your brain, which can help you to solve problems at a faster rate than you did previously. They can also help to calm the mind and improve your mood, which technically is a form of energy in of itself. If you're feeling good, you're feeling awake and you're just feeling happy, you're just going to sit there and be able to work through things in a much better, clearer mind. And that's so important, and that's what they can provide. Because if you just have lots of coffee, which is the standard solution for most people, you're just going to get jittery energy. That's not going to help you to be a high performer. What's going to help you be a high performer and solve the problems here today? Mental clarity and focus, which is what nootropics provide, which caffeine does not. And the types of nootropics out there, there's natural nootropics, synthetic nootropics, and then there are nutrient-based nootropics. So things such as rhodiola rosea, Panax ginseng, caffeine, these are standard, they've been around for ages, they're natural nootropics. Synthetic ones, these are made in laboratories. These are harder to get your hands on, especially in Australia. They make things very challenging. And I actually tried to put some laboratory-based nootropics in here, and then unfortunately they changed the rules and made them illegal, so much so they're almost the same as cocaine. So I had to reformulate pretty quick, otherwise I'm selling drugs. But the natural nootropics are in large doses in here, which is great. Nutrient-based nootropics are your vitamins and your amino acids and the other nutrients, which are your building blocks, which provide your brain with all of the things it needs to be able to thrive. Unfortunately, the Australian and standard diet that we all go by leaves us deficient in B vitamins and other things such as choline, which your brain needs to produce healthy levels of neurotransmitters to be able to improve the way you think and you feel. So nootropics can provide to bridge that gap, but also help you get ahead. So that's the type of things that you could and should be looking for when considering a nootropic product. Finally, do they exist currently? Yes, you're drinking them. They're here, but they exist all over the place. Beyond this, obviously, I'm biased. I do run a company called Savvy, but they do exist all over the place. The most important thing, as I mentioned before, is dose. So before you start looking for random brands, don't just jump at the fact you saw lion's mane or ashwagandha. Double check, is the dose right? Is there enough? Am I being ripped off? And those are things I want you to start questioning, because otherwise people are just taking advantage of it in a marketing way. So you want to have a large dose for it to work. My final thoughts are nootropics are a powerful tool for improving cognitive function. They're hugely necessary in today's day and age, especially for those high-flying achievers. If you're here on a Saturday solving problems, nootropics are for you. So go beyond your tea and beyond your coffee and try and go for things like this. It's delightful that I see all these cans on the tables out there, but this isn't the only type of nootropic that's around. There's so many more, and I encourage you to start filling your pantry with these. You'll notice why they can help to dial up your life, optimize your functionality, and get a little bit more out of your brain, which gets you a little bit more out of your day and gets you closer to your goals each and every day. That is the piece of the puzzle though. As I said before, your sleep, your diet, your nutrition, and your social, both external and internal, is ultra important. So while they provide a huge piece to the puzzle, they are just that, a piece of the puzzle. The larger thing is up to you guys to do. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much. Cool.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, man.
I'll grab that.
I'll give you that. I have no idea how long that was. Yes, sir.
No, that's okay. So what you say? What Mark is saying is that drugs are good, okay? Well, these ones anyway. No, thank you so much for that. And please, we've got more. Where are the drinks?
There's loads out there.
So right at the front, if you guys want to have that boost, that kick. I was surprised that it's only got one spoon of...
It's got like less caffeine than a cup. So it's got less caffeine than a cup of coffee, but obviously you guys would have felt that kind of lift from last night. It lasts longer than a cup of coffee, which is great. But that's the whole idea of why nootropics are cool.